Hello, my friends. It's your old buddy Dragos, and I wanted to be the first to wish you a happy Easter this year. And I thought, what better way to celebrate Easter than by telling you some of the traditions that we have in my home country and in Eastern Europe that we do to celebrate Easter. Now, some of them are very similar to what you might do at home. For example, it's tradition on Easter that everyone dress in something new and something fancy. Now, like I made this shirt specifically for today. Isn't it fun? It's a good Easter color, good bright green like a lime, like a lucky lime. But it's tradition all across Europe for people to put on new outfits, put on things that are super fancy, and a lot of times people wear the folk clothes that their ancestors wore. Red seems to be a popular color for some reason. But hey, everybody has their own Easter colors. It's also very common in the Slavic countries. That's pretty much everything over there east of Germany. It's tradition for girls to wear a head crown that they make out of flowers. In most of the Slavic countries, they're going to use local flowers. This is called a venik, and you wear it like a crown. Now, I made this one. This is one that I made from some local flowers that were growing around, and you just put it on your head like this. Of course, ladies wear them, not the boys. But it's something to show that they're happy and ready for the spring. You know, Easter does fall close to the spring equinox, so a lot of these kind of cross over. The flowers represent the birth of life, coming from the spring as plants grow back and these beautiful flowers start to appear. Now in Hungary, they have another tradition. It's called the Holuka. That is where the guys track down the girls that they like. You remember, they're in their fancy clothes. And the guys throw a bucket of water on them. Can you believe it? It's a real thing. They follow them, and then they hold them down, and they throw a bucket of water on them. I think it's hilarious. Of course, this is when the weather starts warming up, so it's kind of refreshing. They don't mean it in a mean way. It's just kind of a fun thing that they do. Kind of like a wet t-shirt contest, except it's their bodice and their dress. Everything gets wet. Now in Moldavia, they have something they call is a sabaki, which is a type of whip that they make. It's a whip with a little bit of red or yellow. It's got fabric on the end. And there, the guys will chase the girl they like and whip them on the butt. It's kind of a cute, playful thing, though. They're not trying to hurt them. They just give them a little whip on the butt. Now, I made this one. This isn't, usually is made out of willow, but we are not around any willow trees. So I made this one, just a little poop, just give them a poop on the fanny. I think that's a fun Easter tradition. Now, in Czechoslovakia and the Czech countries, they do other things too. They like to walk around with noisemakers. This is called the klabania. These sound like clang and bang. It's called the klabania. But they take these noisemakers and they spin them and make noise to try and scare away the evil spirits. A lot of times people seem to think that there's evil spirits or witches around. I think it's because spring equinox and Easter are like polar opposite on the calendar of fall equinox and Halloween. So they will take these noisemakers, or they will take a washboard or bells, or I think it's always fun, take rattles. Take some rattles, and you walk around and you make noise to try and scare away the evil spirits. Isn't that cute? It's kind of like a Halloween stuff. I think it's fun. In Germany, a lot of times, Germany very much believes that there are witches, so they will burn these big bonfires on Easter Eve to try and scare away any evil spirits. Very much like Halloween. It's kind of the same thing. Now in Greece, they got kind of a funny one. What they do is everybody has to take a red pot. In fact, I have one right here. You take a red pot and you have to fling it out the window and break it. If you break it on the first throw, it shows you're going to have good luck all year. If it doesn't break, you better get down there and break that little bugger on the ground. But But isn't that fun? All this red pottery in the road, right? When children are running around looking for eggs. What could go wrong? Now, as you go north of Germany, there are traditions where children and some adults will dress like witches. Again, this is to scare off the witches. It's kind of just like Halloween again. You dress up as a witch. Some will even go door to door. But you dress up like a witch, and then the witches can't see you. The evil spirits think, hey, he's one of us. He ain't gonna do nothing wrong. So they run around in little pointy hats and, big noses and all of that stuff. I think it's cute. Now, here in Eastern Europe, especially Romania, where I am from, it's also tradition that on Easter Day, that is the day that you go and you clean your family's graves. Clean their tombstone. You want to make sure it's all pretty. It might have got dirty over the winter. You might have got snow or dust or, moss may start growing. So families will go out and clean the headstones really well, clean up any weeds that have popped up. And it's also very common for people to have a meal at the grave. This is a way of including the family in their family fun, in the holiday, and making the dead remember that they're still part of the family and are still memorized. So it's not unusual to see family members eating a piece of cheese and some bread on a grave with a glass of wine with grandma. I think it's beautiful. Some people seem to think that we are morbid, but I think it's good to remember the dead, especially on holidays. Who doesn't want an Easter egg hunt, Speaking of Easter eggs, everybody knows that the Easter bunny brings eggs, right? Not everywhere. In Germany, it's a fox. The Easter fox brings eggs. Isn't that crazy? Oh, no, little cute bunny, it's the fox. I think it is because the fox is a trickster, and that is why the eggs are painted, so you don't recognize them as eggs. You think, oh, it's something else. Crack, it's an egg. I think that's cute. Now, of course, in Romania, we also paint eggs. We paint eggs with wax. We cover them in wax, and then you dye them. And then when you remove the wax, you can leave all kinds of little intricate patterns. This is called the kraslika. And some people do very, very fancy eggs. They will do multiple colors. They'll do traditional symbols. Beautiful, beautiful pieces. Here are some eggs that I have decorated. Now, of course, you can always just paint them a nice solid color. Nothing wrong with that. But you can also jewel them. The fancy Russians love their fancy eggs. Things like this where you glue little tiny jewels all across them. You can also put the initial of a loved one on it or do some decoration for your family members. A is for someone special. Here's another egg that I've decorated. Now, this is a traditional Romanian pattern of zigzags that is, again, supposed to drive away evil spirits. But, just get creative. Do whatever color you like. Do whatever pattern you like. Sometimes we will glue paper to eggs to make a pattern. Or we will even glue leaves. Things like that. Things that you find everywhere. Now, I know that you are saying, hey, Dragos, eggs are expensive. Have you seen the price of eggs in the market lately? Ridiculous, I know. But don't let eggs stop you. You can decorate just about any kind of food you want. Like here is an apple that I did. I put a nice band of stones on it. You can paint is a mango. If you are rich and you have a mango, who doesn't like that? Here is a pear that I have glued some leaves to. Sometimes the glue don't stick too well, so you gotta push it down. But look, see, isn't that pretty? Beautiful local plants glued on some fruit. Now on this pear, I put signs of the zodiac because I always think it's a good reminder, just get creative. Oh, that glue didn't dry either. I think these pears still need to dry out. The stones are gonna fall off. Why not do an eggplant? Everybody love an eggplant, right? I did a little scene. I look out the window. I painted a scene on this onion. I think it's pretty, don't you? The point is to be festive for the holiday. Who doesn't like a chili pepper? Well, why not paint a chili pepper, I think it's great. Or a carrot. You could always paint a carrot. Painting a carrot might seem problematic at first, but just think of it as a long, skinny palette. How can you decorate something long and skinny? Like I did with this banana, too. You know, of course, the banana goes bad a little faster, so you gotta eat that one right away. But, I mean, just don't be limited. There are so many things you can do with a piece of fruit. Here's a fun orange, even little dinky. Look at this little tiny pepper. Just paint it. Make it fun. That way, when you have food with your family, you have something special besides eggs. I mean, a person can only eat so many egg sandwiches, right? How many ways can you cook an egg? I can only think of one. Egg sandwich. I hope that these ideas can help make your Easter a little more festive with some of the traditions of the old land. So don't overeat on the chocolate rabbits, you know. I think I'm going to try the eggplant. That sounds good. We make a parmesan tonight. Easter parmesan. Doesn't that sound good? Everybody, have a wonderful Easter. Or if you don't celebrate Easter, have a wonderful spring. And don't be afraid to have some fun. Just don't load up on chocolates. Bye-bye!